Who do you want to be? What is it going to take for you to be that person? Now, of course, you're going to have to do things that might be uncomfortable for you. And that type of uncomfortable may vary in the variety that it hits you at. It may not necessarily be that you're just in a place with people. I've learned to overcome that to the point where I thrive in it. I meet people. I'm excited by people. I'm curious to find out who they are. But there's other difficulties. There's other things that show up in my life that make it difficult for me to be in those spots with those people. Like distance, for example. Where I live is on the complete opposite side of where everything is going on. So I have to make the commitment to what is difficult, to show up, to put myself in a place where I can be around people that are doing the things that I've always dreamed to do. What are you wanting out of your life? Are those things that are going to take you to get to that place difficult? They probably are. But that difficult is the pressure that comes in your life that helps carve you into who you need to be to accomplish those goals. So if you've got things in your way right now that are stopping you, that are slowing you down, find a way to find the courage to strive for them. Take the action. Don't hesitate, because that will create the resentment. And if you don't want to get the resentment, learn the stories. Watch the stories of other men. Find out who have done the things that you need to do to get you where you want to be. And right now, you've done the right thing because you're on this show. Roll that intro. I want to thank you for joining us at the Man Up and Own It show, where we deal with the experiences that men have faced and overcome by telling those stories of some amazing men. And I want to take the moment right now, because you love this stuff. And if you're not subscribed and you haven't hit that like button, now's your opportunity, because you're not going to want to miss what my friend Mycal Anders has to say. What's up, bro?
I'm great, brother. How are you doing, man?
I'm good, dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
This experience. I love this, dude. Since I started the podcast, I have met some amazing people.
No doubt.
And it's opened a lot of doors for me. And honestly, it was very intimidating at first. I've questioned myself a lot if I was doing good enough.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I still seek criticism on the opportunity to improve, but I love this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, you have a podcast, right?
I do. Progress Always.
Okay.
We drop an episode. We did 47 episodes last year. Yeah.
That's tough, right?
So it's rocking, man. It's rocking. I've been podcasting since 2016. This is my third go round. I had a partner on the first one, went solo, then the pandemic happened.
Okay.
Had to restructure a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Keep the business afloat, all that good stuff, and put the podcast on the back burner. And through some soul searching at the beginning of last year, I had just come back from Kilimanjaro. I have a bunch of buddies that I deployed with. And we'd take these semi-annual, every other year, adventures. We've done Machu Picchu, we've done Kilimanjaro, and we're getting ready to do Antarctica.
What was your favorite one?
So far?
Yeah.
That's tough, man. They're unique.
Okay. So give me an experience that was impactful in your life.
So what was wild about Machu Picchu, we did the Salkantay trek. And on that journey, you touch almost every ecosystem. So on day 2, we started in the marshland. Halfway up, you're in snow-capped peaks. And as you come over the Salkantay Pass at just over 15,000 feet, it looks like you're looking down into Mordor in Lord of the Rings.
Really?
It's just beautiful, let alone, the culmination of getting to the ruins at Machu Picchu.
Yeah.
Kilimanjaro was unique in a way that is hands down the most physically challenging experience I've ever had.
Interesting. And you've been in the military.
Marine Corps. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You've done some probably crazy stuff there. So this was the most physically taxing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And why that is, and why we really enjoy these experiences together, when you spend enough time just putting one foot in front of the other, eventually you get as my brother Eric, who fights in the UFC, would say, as he describes some of his training and some of the experiences he's had in fighting, you get introduced to yourself.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is you get deep enough into the journey with your pals or solo,
Yep.
and you run out of bullshit to talk about.
Yep.
You run out of the superficial.
Yep.
And the only thing left is your deepest, darkest thoughts. And what showed up for me on Kilimanjaro on that last day, the day that we summit, you come to this point where you're looking down the mountain and you're looking up the mountain, and you have to decide what kind of story you want to tell. Because the only way off the rock is one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
There's no help that can come get you. It's too high for a helicopter. And so porters have to carry you down should you get injured.
Yeah.
Right? And you're sitting there trying to reconcile with yourself, why is walking, how did that become so fucking hard? And I took 2 weeks for this trip. I'm away from my family. And one of the things that I preach to my children is live a story worth telling.
That's impactful. Say that again.
Live a story worth telling.
Yep.
And I've had to, part of my motivation for finishing beyond my own ego was you're away from your family for 2 weeks to have this adventure.
Yeah.
Don't come back a quitter. Finish.
I mean,
that's the story I want to tell my kids.
You have kids? Yeah. How many kids do you have?
I've got 2. My son Tristan just turned 8, and my daughter Cameron just turned 6.
Oh, interesting. We both have a daughter named Cameron.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
right
nice.
on.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what is the example that you're setting for them?
You know, that's the question. So for my son, I want to show him what it is to be a capable, competent, and confident man.
Yeah, man. Say that one again.
I'm showing my son what it is to be a capable, competent, and confident man.
Absolutely. And in a very productive manner.
Yeah.
Because we can do those things, but we can be very dastardly too.
Oh, sure. You know, and for my daughter, I want her to see in the way that I interact and engage with her mother what it is for a man to treat a woman.
Absolutely.
So the example that she goes out into the world with is one of, you're not that.
This isn't acceptable in my life.
An immediate filter.
Absolutely.
Right? My mom would never put up with that shit.
Yep.
That's not how my dad treats my mom.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to let that go for me. Right? And I tell my children all the time, my job in your life is not to be your friend. Mm-hmm. I am not responsible for your happiness. Mm-hmm. It is my job to make sure that you know that you are loved, you are safe, and you are capable, confident, and competent when you step out into the world.
Perhaps the idea of happiness is different. Maybe it isn't what the child is bamboozled into believing because of what they saw on social media. Mm-hmm. Perhaps the actual happiness is knowing that they have lived a successful life as you have shown them.
Right.
So the happiness isn't in that moment in which they might believe it actually is.
No, 100%. You know, and it's the ownness and the responsibility, you know, taking charge and managing both your expectations and your emotions
100%.
appropriately.
I like the part where you just brought up your emotions, and being able to control that is, I believe, one of the biggest freeing skill sets that you can have in your life.
Yeah.
And you've had to develop that through the military. How have those skills that you developed in the military benefited you in your civilian life?
Well, first and foremost, I had to unlearn a couple of things from the Marine Corps.
Oh, I
I
assume.
learned very quickly that you can't run around the civilian world knife handing and motherfucking people to get things done, you know? So
Dude, could you see this guy walking?
it's not very productive behavior, brother.
running down the side of the street.
You know? So, you know, that was a huge adjustment for me, because one of the premises that we live under, whether you're scrubbing toilets or coordinating fires on a deployment, is that everything is a life or death situation.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is a life or death decision, right? The wrong decision gets people killed.
Mm-hmm.
That is not necessarily the reality out here. So managing my expectations of others who don't have that lens of the world, nor do they share those experiences, it was growth on my part to create patience and space and understanding of your lens of the world compared to mine, and making sure that the message intended is the message received.
Absolutely. I like how you just brought up your expectations, and then you threw another word in there which solved the problem, which was understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So now the way that I understand expectations to be is expectations are agreements or understandings that we have solely with ourselves, and the other person isn't privy to them. And I'm going to act in a way that's not beneficial to the outcome that I want when I don't get what I want when I expected from you.
Mm-hmm.
But when we have those understandings, those agreements that
Yes.
we've made, so we both have a perceived outcome that we would like
Mm-hmm.
and the actions it would take to get there,
Right.
we get more of the outcome that we want in our life.
Exactly.
That's cool.
More consistently too.
So what was a skill, though, that benefited you in this world once you were able to like manage your systems?
Oh, one of the things that I took with me from the Marine Corps, for sure, without a doubt, is working till the job is done.
Oh, I love it.
There is no clock.
Absolutely.
It's not that time is a construct, you know, if we're going to put on our tinfoil hats and do the dance,
But time is of the essence.
but time is irrelevant.
Yeah.
The job needs to get done.
Yes.
Whether that takes 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, we work till it's done.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
And that has served me really well.
What's one thing that you're proud of that came from that mentality?
Well, Next Level Performance Consulting celebrated 11 years brick and mortar in business this year.
Bam. dude just dropped a bomb there. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's no difficult task, especially being in a place where there are a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of fitness people. There are a lot of coaches, self-help people.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see you accomplishing things like that.
It's been really, really cool. The evolution of Next Level runs parallel with the evolution of Mycal.
Absolutely. It's a representation of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my dinners. They're representations of me.
Sure. Yeah.
And
what an incredible event.
thank you,
that you
bro.
put on.
I appreciate that.
I want to take a moment and just celebrate the not only recognizing the effort that you put into those occasions, but also the caliber of men that you put in a room together. I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about offline just a second ago, was, you know, the initiative that you've shown in putting yourself in front of others and in rooms that elevate your status and move the needle towards your goals.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you know, to go back to your intro, a very daunting task for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And the thought and the imposter syndrome that shows up for many is what keeps them from achieving their aspirational self.
Right. Well, I think people like to make things more complicated than possibly what they are. And they also like to negate themselves.
Sure.
Because it may not necessarily be the idea of failure, because failure is readily, easily defined, right? but success. And what happens when I do it? And then what?
Yeah.
So like for the dinners, I think it's a challenge. Now I love it because I'm always looking at it and like, what can I do one little thing better? How can I evolve this like I'm evolving? But definitely the last message of what Dave Waltzer said on this podcast that his teacher told him is something that I deeply resonated with.
Which is?
I had to become someone different if I wanted to accomplish the things that I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that the person that I was bad, but he just wasn't the person to get the job done.
Right. Yeah. 100%.
And I was okay with letting that person go. Like that was the old me of where I needed to be 280 pounds of all muscle or I wasn't okay with myself.
Yeah.
And that person wasn't going to live very long or get to spend time with his kid or be a quality husband and a good example, like you said.
Sure.
So I had to become somebody else, but I had to start meeting other people.
Was there, as you evolved into this new version of Christopher, was there what was the path for you? Did you seek examples of men that exemplify who you wanted to become? Or did you kind of...
That was a building experience.
Okay.
Definitely. Yes, in a way, but it evolved. The type of person that I wanted to be evolved. So after I met Jay Cutler, and I competed in his Desert Classic.
Okay.
I got third, and then I realized I didn't want to be a bodybuilder.
Okay.
This is not something that was going to be long lasting for me.
Sure.
I was like 33 when I competed.
Okay. I did 4 shows back in the day.
Did you?
Yeah.
So you know.
Yeah, totally.
And like I'm not built super big, so the amount of gear and things that I would have to do would drastically shorten my life.
100%.
I don't want to miss out on experiences with my kid.
Yeah.
So that ended, but I started to recognize like I need to be around these types of people.
Okay.
So now I've created Dapper and Fit, but how do I expand it? How do I get it to be bigger and do something better? And so then I started to have to go to like networking events and things like that. And I started to meet people. And then I dropped off and then I came back after I met Andy Elliott.
Okay.
I walked into him at a TJ Maxx.
Really?
My wife and I had just agreed on what do we need to go to the next level? Yeah. And we were like, all right, we need to be around people doing the stuff that we want to be doing.
Yep.
And we had done some self-help like courses and stuff like that, but then we shook on it. We had this understanding and we created an intent. We shook on it. We got out of the car. We're going into a TJ Maxx in Scottsdale, and I live in Surprise. So like, we went there for a specific reason because supposedly they had some higher quality stuff at a lower price. Love it.
Makes sense.
As we were walking in, this buff guy was walking out with his family. And you know, we're buff. We look at each other. We're like, I appreciate that. Good job. We did the buff guy stare down and the head nod. We both were like, all right. And then it clicked in my head who he was. I had just seen his stuff, heard his message, and was like, all right, I can get behind this. And then I turned around and I was like, Elliot? He like spun around at me and he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, don't mess this opportunity up. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. God is giving you a chance.
Yeah.
Are you willing to listen? Are you willing to pay attention? Have you done the work that says, I'm ready for the next step?
Yeah.
Boom, instant. Hi, my name is Christopher Reeves. I was scared out of my mind. Told him about what I do and how I want to help men and stuff like that. And he invited me out and my wife out to the compound out in Fountain Hills.
Yeah.
Wow. But yeah, I sat down with him and he challenged me to be better. He called me out on every flaw and I was like, huh. He's like, you just need to do more. And he made it simple.
Yeah.
And when he made it simple, I realized I could do more. I can be more extroverted. I can not fail my family.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. And then I went to one of his events and then we had a moment of going to a event that Tab Pierce put on.
Yep.
Tab Pierce, we went and met him and then boom, He hires me, and next thing I know, I'm on his stage with him after I've helped him lose his weight and change his image.
Yeah.
I'm introducing him, and then I'm doing these other events. I have a podcast all of a sudden, and then I'm speaking, and now I have dinners, and now we're getting ready to do a boxing club event. But it all took the chance when I betted on myself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So what was your big moment in your life that was like that separation? Maybe you met somebody that kind of changed it.
Oh man, you got to pick one. I am the product of serendipity, brother.
Yep.
And one of the conversations I have with our clients most often is the conversation of alignment.
Mm.
And once we've created the awareness, identified the patterns, behaviors, and habits that are no longer serving you, and put together the strategy and tactics to replace them, followed by immediate action,
Mm-hmm.
then you get to answer the question henceforth of, is this next decision, is this next action in alignment with who I aspire to become,
Absolutely.
who I am becoming?
Yes.
And it makes the yeses really easy.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, it makes the no's even easier.
Interesting.
So you don't fuck around with distraction.
It's just pushed. Yeah.
It's like, this either serves me or it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
To your point, making it easy, categorically speaking, it makes those actions extremely simple.
Absolutely.
Right?
Interesting enough that you said distractions, because distractions oftentimes to see that is exactly what's stopping people.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, did you watch the movie Up?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Squirrel. And that's how they got away, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how your dreams are getting away when we're distracted.
Right.
So tell me more about identifying
Oh,
that.
but going back to your the moments, right?
Oh, yeah.
So when I was in Afghanistan, I ran UAV missions for our guys on the ground.
Okay.
And so we provided overwatch, reconnaissance, surveillance.
So you were like eagle eye, your eyes in the sky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you got good vision then, huh?
So in 2020, pilot qualified,
Dude,
Yeah.
all right. He keeps getting more interesting as we go.
Never flew though. And I guess life-changing moment number one would be my early exit from the Air Force Academy. I cheated on a test in violation of the honor code, and they let me go. Silver spoon ripped from my mouth.
No shit.
Nike sponsored Division I football player, on course to finish my bachelor's degree and serve as a commissioned officer in the United States Air Force. Gone. Over 10 points. So it took me about 4 years to crawl out of that hole, and that's where my personal growth and development journey.
How old were you when
began.
that started?
Leaving the academy?
Yeah, when that moment happened, how old were you?
19.
You were super young when all of that got ripped away from you. So now 4 years,
Yep.
you end up being to like 23.
Yep. So I transferred down to East Texas State. Coach Scotty Conley took a shot on me, and I took a scholarship sight unseen to a D2 in the middle of about 75 miles east of Dallas, Texas, with more cows than people. And I'm from back east. So I'm from where tobacco country and the military industrial complex come together.
Oh.
So I'm a fish out of water.
Okay.
And
See, that's where I'm from. I'm from Kansas, though.
okay.
So it's all cattle and
Yeah, you get it. So I had to figure that out, and I spent a considerable amount of time in that 4 years just discovering who Mycal is and what Mycal wants.
Did you have family or anything around you?
Yeah, I mean, my family was extremely supportive.
No. But when you were in Texas,
my mother was living in San Antonio.
okay, so you had someone, but they weren't there with you. You were alone.
Not direct access, no.
You were alone. Oh, dude, that's a huge test of fate right there.
So 6 days into my first season there, I blow out my knee. So I'm kicked out of school. Now I'm injured for the rest of the season. I'm in a place that I'm not terribly excited about being. And, I just had this season of my life where I was snake bit.
Yep.
But I also got my first taste of entrepreneurship.
All right.
And I still hadn't learned the lesson from the academy. I started writing papers for my teammates.
Damn.
For $20 a page, do you want an A, B, or a C? Right? And I'll never forget, my buddy comes to me, a teammate of mine comes to me last minute and says, bro, I need a paper. I was like, have you started it? No. It just so happened to be on a book that I had already read.
Okay.
So I write the paper. I finish the paper in blue ink. I'm like, dude, I email it to him. I say, make it sound like you. Obviously change it to black.
Yeah.
Turn it in, you'll be all set. What's he do?
He didn't do it.
Prints it as delivered. And here's moment number 2.
No. Did he rat you out too?
No, so they take him to task, and my coaches got involved, pull me into their office. I never meet this teacher. Pull me into their office, and I'll never forget this. Coach Roberts, our defensive line coach, he says, God damn it, Mycal. Isn't this the reason that you're here in the first fucking place? And this is where he beats me over the head. He says, you have teammates that have this pipe dream of going to the league, and they're going to do pro day after pro day and try and try and try, knowing they don't have a shot. That's not your issue. And quite frankly, you don't belong here. Get your head out of your ass and graduate and get the fuck out of here and move on with your life.
That's a big moment.
And in that moment, I decided to straighten up and fly right.
Interesting. Instead of reject it and
he was right.
Right.
You can't argue the truth.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, my ego, my pride, all of that. And I was just like, damn.
Yeah, but that moment was where the moment that old identity died. Like it actually was assassinated.
Mm-hmm. And
do you think you had guilt in that moment too, that you knew that you had done the wrong thing for this guy, and now you're being called out, and you were like, enough, I've suffered.
Yeah. I heard from a mentor of mine, Michael Burnoff.
Okay. I've done his events.
Okay. Yeah. He says, you will be where you're at until you're tired of fucking being there.
Yeah.
I got tired of being where I was at.
Yes.
And it took that moment with Coach Roberts to really put it out there in front of me and bring it to my consciousness that this pattern, this behavior, these habits were not serving me. Mm-hmm. They're not who I am, and they will not take me where I really want to go.
Absolutely.
Because I remember when I was 16, my dad asked me, son, what do you want to do with your life? And I knew. I said, I want to play D1. I want to get my degree. I want to serve as an officer. And I blew that chance. Mm-hmm. So having blown it, I thought, well, that's the end of it. So
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I want to go back to where you thought that you weren't good enough to pass the test, so you cheated.
Yeah. So
what were the habits that were going on in your life that would probably create that? What's the word that you used earlier?
The violation of the honor code?
No, the self-belief, the
imposter syndrome?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where you thought that you weren't that person that could take that test.
So I got lazy.
Bam.
Yeah. And making that compromising decision, by virtue of simply wanting to turn it in on time. Like I didn't even care what the grade was. That's the fucked up part about it. I just wanted to get it done.
All right. So if there's a guy out there right now that's suffering from that there, what's one thing that you could reach back into your past and give to him as a gift right now?
When you're building your empire, make it a point not to leave yourself behind in the process. Because everything that we've talked about has been overcoming the leaving of yourself behind.
I agree. 100%. We share a story that's different, but very similar. If they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way that you would love for them to get a hold of you?
You can connect with me on Instagram at Coach Drez. That's DERZ on Instagram. And you can follow everything that's going on at Next Level where we specialize in fitness, healing, and mindset at nextlevel_PHX, and go to nextlevelpfc.com.
All right. You heard it. And I want to thank you out there for joining us on the Man Up and Own It show. I hope that you got something out of his story that'll help you deal with the experiences that are difficult in your life. Don't forget to hit that like button and that subscribe button. Thank you.